While you sleep, eat, or watch UATV English, no matter what, counter-offensive is onwards. Good afternoon, this is Henry Keane bringing the hard truth in easy terms for the whole free world directly from Ukraine. The defense forces of Ukraine have regained control over the Petrohodolets, Ukraina, Tavrida and Sivash offshore oil drilling platforms in the sea area between Snake Island and the western coast of Crimea in the Black Sea. These offshore drilling platforms, the property of Ukraine, were seized by Russian occupiers in 2014. Under Russian control, the drilling platforms were engaged in illegal oil extraction on the Ukrainian shelf. The offshore rigs also served as Russian military installations, of course, helicopter landing sites and structures hosting civilians' equipment. All of the enemy infrastructure on the platforms has been eliminated. Establishing control over the drilling platforms near the Crimean coast indicates the obvious, the expansion of the operational area of the Ukrainian Defense Forces in the Black Sea, and brings the time of Crimea's liberation closer. These platforms, now operational in favor of its natural owner, Ukraine, has not only great economical but also in none less great symbolic significance. It marks the vector. Ukraine continues to return what was seized by Russia before and during the full-scale invasion. A unique operation for taking back control over the drilling platforms was carried out by the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine's special units. Special forces managed to seize valuable trophies. A stockpile of helicopter ammunition, and we talk about unguided aerial missiles type here, as well as the Niva radar, which is capable of tracking the movement of ships deep in the Black Sea. One more thing worth highlighting here. During one of the phases of the operation, a battle took place between Ukrainian Special Marine Forces, who were moving on boats, and a Russian Su-30 fighter jet. As a result, the Russian plane was damaged and had to retreat. Now, again, a country whose naval forces, according to the Russian media, are simply no more, eliminated by the mighty Russian army, still manages to seize oil rigs and a few small boats in the middle of Black Sea. And by the way, and I mean literally by their way, when engaged in a fight with a Russian fighter jet, damaging a Russian super fighter jet. Well, my question is, does the Black Sea Fleet of Russia exist at all? Maybe they are afraid to leave the well-protected base, so their ships are not to be sunk by Ukrainian missiles and drones, just as Russian flagship Moscow was. I wonder what they've said to Putin after Moscow has been hidden down. Comrade General Commander, flagship Moskva has successfully changed its status to underwater flagship. Of course, our soldiers are not currently present on these rigs, as they would be easy prey for the Russians. But the very fact that there are no Russians there, just as well as already great achievement, and these drilling platforms can become a good springboard for further reconquest of Crimea. All that was Ukrainian will remain Ukrainian and will be returned to us no matter what. Israeli Mossad Chief Officer David Barney said that Iran plans to transfer short and long-range missiles to Russia and in return may receive weapons that threaten Israel. Well, in that case, I can only repeat what my mother always says: when I do stupid things, expecting any other result but stupid. Told you. Kyiv has long warned of the challenges of Russian-Iranian military cooperation, which threatens both Eastern Europe. Well, to put it frankly, it threatens the whole of Europe and the whole of the Middle East just as well. Russian-Iranian cooperation has already caused enormous damage for Ukraine. For many months in a row, Russians have been terrorizing the civilian population of Ukraine with Iranian drones. In mid-August, Volodymyr Zelensky said that Russia launched 1,961 kamikaze drones, and I'm sure that by the moment you see this episode, the number has already exceeded over 2,000. If our air defense forces had not worked so amazingly well, there would have already been 2,000 destroyed civilian infrastructure facilities, residential buildings, and I'm not even talking here about the number of people killed. The Russian military-industrial complex is rapidly degrading, and it will grow to be increasingly dependent on cooperation with Iran. The Kremlin strategy is to instigate and then inflame chaos in order to force the West to react and disperse its direct efforts to overcome the threat, which is Russia. Russia knows that. West knows that. And Ukraine knew that decades ago, or rather centuries, if we dare to look that far deep into the history. Anyway, if you, no matter where you live, ask your intelligence services what Russia is giving Iran in exchange for kamikaze drones, and if they for some reason are going to answer you, the answer might be nuclear tech. And I'm not talking about peace atomic energy here. Now, even the idea of such an export to Iran from Russia is already threatening Israel. I mean, look at the Kremlin. Listen to them. The Russian leadership is more and more used to anti-Semitic rhetoric. This is a clear signal to Israel that bilateral relations with Russia are no longer able to guarantee an acceptable level of security in the Middle East.
While innuendos, despicable remarks proving anti-Semitism, the statements made on September the 5th by the Russian president about the Ukrainian president and about Ukraine are outrageous. Catherine Colonna, Minister of Europe and Foreign Affairs of France, on Twitter.
The fact is obvious. It is in Israel's best interest to support Ukraine more decisively in order to jointly overcome the threats posed by Moscow and Tehran. Will Israel hear us? An Airbus A320 passenger plane that belongs to Airlines from Sochi to Omsk flight made an emergency landing in a field of Novosibirsk region due to a technical malfunction. You are not sure sanctions work? Well, it seems to me that Russia is using Western passenger aircrafts which it actually has stolen. All the West-produced planes that were on Russian territory and that were leased to Russian air companies were simply expropriated and transferred to the Russian company register. I like that, actually. It seems like the perfect plan, well, for a month or two, because due to the sanctions, Russian Airlines aircraft do not fly to most international airports and do not undergo license repairs and maintenance. And for those stolen transferred jets, you still need spare parts that are unavailable, or available at skyrocket prices and are super hard to get. So what now? Well, Russian airlines solve maintenance and repair issues on their own using non-original, mostly Iranian spare parts and cannibalizing the rest of the fleet for parts. This impacts the safety of aircraft, of course. Due to the lack of proper maintenance and repairs, Western passenger aircraft in the Russian fleet have been brought to poor conditions and the situation is constantly deteriorating. Russia exposes its passengers to mortal danger by continuing to operate unsafe aircraft. The Sochi to Omsk flight could have ended in a real disaster, and the same future awaits all Russian air industry. So, really, sanctions do not work? Well, at least in Russian air, they work all right. However, so to speed up the Kremlin's downfall, not of their planes, but them as the entity, as the country, Ukraine needs more weaponry. Then, the armed forces of Ukraine are absolutely able to make not only Ukrainian, but also Russian airspace safe. It was Henry Keane on UATV English, hoping to give the hard truth in easy enough terms on our Today Daily Wrap-Up. Comment, like and subscribe. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and your opinion matters a lot to us. Stay safe and tuned for more tomorrow. See you soon.